Now for more on those trade talks, we're joined by John Gong, professor at the University of International Business and Economics in Beijing and a China Forum expert. Welcome, it's good to see you.
Thank you very much, Sean, for having me.
Okay, now as we just heard, both sides talk in London, things went well. I'd like to get your take on the talks now that they're going to take this information back, respectively, to President Xi and U.S. President Trump.
Well, I think the key word here is the framework. How do we interpret that word? I guess people are going to debate about it, but my feeling is that framework is more than just sort of an abstract thing that usually people interpret. I think this is there's a lot of substance behind this framework, and this is a specific framework for implementing the consensus that the two presidents reached over that phone conversation. I think I start to get a little bit about what's really going on. I think this trade negotiation really started between the two presidents during that phone conversation. As President Trump has said, that the bulk of that 90-minute call is all about talking about trade. So I think, you know, these two teams in London are really sort of implementing what has already been reached by the two presidents. You know, they're working on the details, right, working on the ways to implement things, working on the mechanism of implementing things. So I think that's probably really what's going on. And I think, you know, from what the Commerce Secretary from the United States, Lutnick, has said, this is very encouraging that he said President Trump is, you know, very much into reducing the trade deficit by increasing American exports to to China. And I think this is actually very good news. That means that you know, this whole trade agreement is all about increasing American exports to China, and as well as preserving China's exports to the United States.
Indeed. So now we have the framework, and de-escalation is dearly needed. The trade war started by, excuse me, President Trump is bleeding in and dragging down the global economy. What do you think the major sticking points were up until now?
Well, I think there are a couple of issues related to these tariffs. You know, these are the reasons why allegedly the United States imposed tariffs on China.
Right.
One thing I can think of has to do with the 20% tariff associated with fentanyl. I'm guessing you know, this thorny issue might be already resolved. You know, you can imagine there are a lot of details, a lot of you know, substantive things that have to be associated with that to resolve that issue. Another thing about I think it's more than about trade. You know, America's concern about rare earth, China's concern about you know, technology sanctions. You know, so sort of related to trade.
Sure.
You know, I think these are got to be detailed issues that both sides are working on to make sure that you know, these issues are resolved.
You know, John, I think that some people are going to say, weren't we just here? Because we all breathed a collective sigh of relief after the Geneva talks, reducing tariffs on goods from 125% to 10%. China did that. So what happened in the interim between Geneva and here?
I think, you know, both sides are sort of doing a little bit of a posturing going into the negotiation. You know, as any people would imagine, you know, during these very critical negotiations, before these very critical negotiations, usually things go up and down. That's indeed what we are seeing, going up and down. You know, there's part of news coming out, there's negative news coming out. But at the end of the day, we all understand that both sides have to reach an agreement. This is what has already been agreed upon during that phone conversation with the two presidents. And President Trump tweeted later on that you know, he expects that the negotiation in London will generate good results. So I think this is exactly what's happening, and I think the relevant parties from both sides in China, United States business communities, and of course we are, you know, observers in the news media,
sure,
all sign with a relief that at least you know, we're moving forward. This big trade war can be averted in the end.
Yeah, so I think that China had said it over and over. There are no winners in a trade war, and we've seen some real tangible evidence of that, not the least of which is overall the global economy is predicted to go down significantly unless there's a way to work this out. Do you think that played into this, that both sides, especially the U.S., had seen, look, we are basically at this point possibly adversely affecting the economy, leading to maybe a recession moving forward?
Well, to be honest, I think the future situation of the world economy is probably at least on the mind of President Trump. I mean, he cares about America first. He cares about the U.S. economy, and he's laser focused on improving the trade relationship with the other countries, reducing deficits. This is what Washington is coming from, and of course, from China's side, it also has its own national interests. But I think what's important here is that both sides can work together indeed for respective interests, but at the same time, acting as leaders of the world, of the global economy. And after all, these are the largest and the second largest economies of the world. They weigh greatly on the global economy and essentially acting as locomotives for the global economy. So I think even though both sides are working for their national interests, in the end, I think it works very well for the global economy.